Hi, Paul Slackus, Good News Broadcast, speaking of Dr. Karen Sherman. Hi, Doctor. How are you?
I'm good, Paul. Thanks for having me with you.
The Art of Choice, Coach of Choice. You have a website called drkarensherman.com, and you're a busy person. Who coaches you?
My husband, my children.
Okay, and what do they tell you?
They tell me, stop being so professional all the time. Just relax. And that's what people have to do. They have to relax.
Okay, why?
Well, because when you're uptight, then you're not thinking clearly. And you're reacting all the time. And our emotions get in the way. And when they get in the way, you can't really be looking at all your possibilities.
So how do you go about not letting that happen?
Well, one of the best things that you can do is start to become aware of your body. Our bodies are our barometers. Anytime you're uptight, you're going to feel it in your body. So once you know that your body is tight, that's a signal to you that there's something emotional going on. One of the best things you can do is then start to relax.
Okay, and that's why we need that deep belly breathing that us yogis do.
That's correct.
But we don't do it all the time. And we sometimes forget about doing it. And sometimes we just forget about breathing. We're so possessed by the situations around us.
That's right. But you know what happens, Paul? A lot of us really have reactions that are coming from our past. And so you can be in a situation that looks like it's upsetting you right now, but it's really because it's triggering something that has happened long, long time ago. And there are ways of healing those wired-in patterns. And that's why, I wrote a book in order to help people understand those tools. And people can really recover from lots of wounds from their past.
Okay, The Art of Choice. Well, tell us about the book.
Well, it's a book that I wrote because I myself went through a very, very difficult time, and I, at some point, was not sure if I could continue to face the pain in my past, but I chose to do so, and realized that there were many techniques that I found helpful in order to help me face my life. And I'm a psychologist in private practice, and I use those techniques with my clients as well. And so I just felt I need to let people know that they don't have to be prisoners to their past, that they can have a joyful life, and that there are ways to heal, as I said, the survival tools that you learn as kids, and that we just keep repeating and repeating and repeating.
Well, what are some of the, where do we start? I mean, I know you have the book, but how do you start? I mean, you can go back to, as you say, kids, or you can go back to college, or you can go back to a little later on, but now we're, 35, 40, 45, 50, and we have some frustrations maybe we don't even know we have. I think is what you're saying, is that it's not really the frustration of what's happening at this moment right now. It's really a past situation possibly that hasn't been worked through.
That's absolutely right. So one of the things is that you have to start becoming aware. You can't change something if you're not aware. And again, that's why I start people out with being observers of their bodies, because that's going to let you know when something is going on that's bothering you. Also, we have to start becoming aware of our thoughts. A lot of times there's lots and lots of negative thoughts that are going on in our head that we're not even noticing, that are very negative and self-critical, and those are certainly not going to help us. So in order to start making some changes, two of the things that I think are really, really good are free association writing, because when you just write as fast as you possibly can, it bypasses your cognitive thoughts, and it gets out the feelings that you're holding in your body. One of the things that I noticed, Paul, was that talk therapy just didn't cut it a lot of times, that people would come to an understanding of what their problems are, and yet when they got into situations, they were still reacting. So it's really important to get out the energy from your past. So free association writing is one of the ways to do that.
Free association writing. So we just okay. So my machine is on right now, right? my answering machine.
Yeah.
I really didn't want my answering machine on right now. But I didn't realize that I had the phone that's under that control to get that. But then I couldn't answer the phone because we're on this interview, right?
Right.
So initially I'm right now, I get a little agite, or, you get a little, because it's not the way it should be in my mind right now. So what could I do? One, I could write down after this interview. One, I could not make that figure out a way so it doesn't happen again, like right now.
but let's presume that what's coming up for you is a feeling of, wow, I didn't do this interview properly. I'm not as good as I possibly can be. I should have done it better. All those kinds of thoughts. And chances are, look, mistakes happen, but chances are, if it sets off those feelings of, I'm no good, why did I do this, lots of self-critical stuff.
Yes, and it does. It makes me very frustrated. It said, I guess I didn't think of that before, and I could run it the whole gamut. A lousy business person, blah, 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 blah.
Right, exactly. And you're not the only one. Most of us suffer from that kind of a feeling. So now what you do is you sit down and you just start to write whatever you're feeling, and you don't pick your pencil up, so to speak, because once you do, then you're giving your thoughts. So you just keep writing, why did I do that? Why did I do that? I must be so bad. I should have known better, blah, 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 blah. And if you find that you can't think of anything to write, you just write, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write. Now, what happens in that process is twofold. First of all, you're letting out the feelings you're having. So once you're emotionally purging them, they're not in you anymore. So it's going to act as a relief. The second thing is that as you start to write, what you're going to find is you're going to uncover probably some feelings from your past. And now you can work on them, which brings us to the second tool.
Okay.
The second tool is where you actually imagine yourself as a little boy. And you picture yourself visually, and visualizations are very, very useful in making changes. You picture yourself as little Paul expressing himself to you as adult Paul, saying or expressing whatever it is he's feeling. Because as children, we don't have a chance to let out what we want to. We didn't feel safe with our parents. And your job or your mission in this visualization is for adult Paul to act as the unconditionally loving parent, to accept whatever little Paul says, and to love him and thank him, and to let him know that it's okay. Whatever he says is okay. And
interesting.
In that process of bringing up the emotion in this raw form, that's where the healing takes place. That's where neural connections change.
So now I consider myself, at least I believe I was, a real kind of goody good two shoes, right, kind of guy. And, whatever my parents kind of said to do, I sort of did it. I had my things too, but I don't think I had a ton of them. I think I was a fairly, let's even say the word, obedient child, okay? And so I might never, and I was also quite quiet, especially in school. I never was the kind of kid that raised, I was always like the president of the class somehow, because I didn't make, everything was good. Your thought is good, your thought is good, your thought, there's different ways. I accepted everybody. But I sort of myself kind of sort of kept it all in.
Exactly.
I didn't because if I would say my thinking, then, probably maybe this I didn't think was so good, but it was good for them. And that, I'm accepting of everybody's good.
Right.
Everybody's entitled to their own beliefs and thoughts. Whether I agree with them, it's immaterial if you ask me.
Right.
And so I've probably lived my life in that manner. But on the other hand, maybe I wasn't fully open with myself and realized certain things that I thought were not so good, but I never dealt with it. I just absorbed it.
That's exactly right. Because what we do as children is we learn whatever it is that will please our parents, that will get the love that we need. So we learn those tools, and if in fact we get the love, we just continue to do them. And so we carry those right through our adulthood. You know, as you describe yourself, you're the male version of me. I did exactly the same thing. But yet, listen to what you just said about a stupid answering machine and how self-critical you are.
I'm tough on myself.
Sure you are, because all those years you kept things in because you were such a good little boy that you had to keep to a certain standard.
And I'd even be upset if my sister said something that was not nice about my parents.
Right.
I mean, she was more open.
Right. She's not going to get so upset with herself about the answering machine like you are.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
I just called it, though, today. I love my sister. Well, I'm crazy about my sister.
Yeah.
But she is more open. You know, it's a little stronger. She thinks I'm sort of like, just the nicest guy. Nice to everybody, nice to everything. And I am, and I try to be. But I want to be.
I'm sure you are. But at what price for you? Now, I'm not suggesting that you become a louse. Okay? But what I'm also suggesting is that you can do the kinds of things that I'm offering to you and feel better about yourself and also be wonderful to everybody else. Why shouldn't you be as nice to yourself as you are to everybody else?
I'm not so important.
Well, but you are. But you are.
But but I feel strong enough that I can take. I used to not beat people in tennis. I was a tennis champion in like a little kid, right? And I would sometimes not people. When I saw that they were like so intense into the game, right? I would take it easier. I would like not let. I'd lose. I don't care. You know, they cared that they would win the game so badly that for me, let them win. Let them be happy winning the game. Okay.
Well, that is very nice. That's exceptionally nice. But I'm still worried about the fact that you beat yourself up over a stupid answering machine.
Well, that has a whole lot to do with work and what we're doing here, and and our whole dedicated our life. I know I have dedicated my life to this business, and so there's a lot that goes into it. 12 years already. That everything, and how far are we after 12 years? We're in a good place, but we're maybe not as far as I would like to be, and I've invested.
Okay, but do you see that is all an outgrowth of the kind of little boy that you were? You wouldn't have been as successful as you are in your chosen career if you had not been that little boy who worked so hard to please and achieve. And so then because you do that, when there is a glitch, you also get upset with yourself. Now, we're talking about a minor point, but there are other people, for instance, who keep picking, let's say, partners who are abusive, and that's a replay of their childhood. People who have eating problems, why do they keep going to food to calm themselves down? Well, I'll tell you why I had an eating problem for a long time, because every time my parents left, they would tell me to go have a chocolate malted with my grandmother. So what I'm suggesting is that there are lots and lots of things that we do without even knowing that we're doing it. We're on autopilot.
By far, I 100% can appreciate and understand that, and by taking a moment like right now to speak with you, or taking a moment to read your book, and you have an e-newsletter, and you have this site that has quite a lot of information on it. You put yourself. I took a couple years off actually after a divorce, and for whatever. I was fortunate that I went into like a new interfaith seminary, right? And spent 2 years, became an interfaith minister. And those 2 years were kind of like finding myself, looking at myself, and so on and so forth. Now, I looked at it myself in different ways, maybe not more in, the past ways. It was maybe more in my beliefs ways than, evaluating my, path. I've had a problem, and I don't know, thinking that, so many people have and said, it was my parents' fault. My parent didn't come to the ball game, or my mother didn't do this, my father didn't do this. I always felt to a certain degree that's a big cop-out. and that I don't know. I've always had a problem, or I don't know, problem, but I've always had a question mark about blaming and using somebody else for my own my own personal, let's call them question marks, or I don't want to say failures, but I don't think I should be saying it's my mother's fault or my father's fault that I am the way I am. I don't know whether fault's even the right word.
Well, I understand absolutely what you're saying, and I would agree with you. I don't think that as an adult you should be excusing all of your behavior and saying, well, it's my mother's fault, it's my father's fault. First of all, I don't think you can get out of childhood without having some bumps and bruises at the very minimum. However, you get to a point in your life where it's your responsibility as to what you then do with the situations. In my heart of hearts, I truly believe that every parent does the very best that they can.
Yes.
A lot of parents, unfortunately, are very limited. But the point is, and I think this is really the point of what what I believe is my mission. It doesn't matter what happened to you in your past. Mm-hmm. Yes, you have hurts, you have wounds. You don't have to continue playing those cards. You can make a change. You can have joy in your life. It doesn't matter what your past was. You don't have to be emotionally frozen by it. You can make the changes that offer you all sorts of possibilities going forward.
Okay. A lot of good stuff here. Dr. Karen Sherman, didn't know this is where we were going to go on this, but thank you for allowing me to, share my thinking and hear your thinking about the thing that you love to do, right? This is your good news. What is your good news?
What is my good news?
Yes.
That, I'll tell you, I came from a lousy background, and I'm really happy that I did, because I know that that was something that afforded me the opportunity to grow and to share this with other people so that I can help others. So many people are afraid of looking at their past. Don't be afraid of it. It passes, and again, you can move on. And I want people to know that they really can have wonderfully satisfying, joyful lives.
Thank you for sharing your good news. Enjoyed speaking with you. Karen's website is drkarensherman.com. Her book is information about all the good things she's up to. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me,
Take
Paul.
care.
I really appreciate it.
All righty.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.